We're joined here on The Colour of Country Life by I think it's Member-elect, Jade, have I got it right? We spoke to you shortly after the election, but you are now confirmed as the member. You just got to be sworn in for Mildura.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm still Member-elect at this stage, being sworn in at Parliament House next Tuesday, the 20th, before Parliament sits just before Christmas.
Yeah, congratulations, Jade. A great win, and a great win for the Nationals in several seats like yours, reclaiming seats that were held by independents, but not a great result for the coalition in that there's another term for the Andrews Labor government.
Yeah, I think it's really reflective of the different views held by those of us out in regional and rural areas, though. Very reflective, I think. And it's just frustrating that those that are a little closer to the city and those that are, at the end of the freeways don't really, it's quite frustrating for us in that we feel like, again, we're still not being heard by those in the city. Hopefully, and we will, now that we have such a strong Nationals team, we'll certainly be heard on Spring Street.
Well, when it comes to, I guess, being heard in politics, we did have your federal colleague in the seat of Mallee overlapping the seat of Murray. Anne Webster had been critical of Murray Watt, the Agriculture Minister, not visiting the Mildura region. He's made a flying visit on Monday. What do you make of that?
Well, he actually left the airport too, which was nice, unlike the Prime Minister. Look, it's really good that when Anne does express some frustrations, that the federal ministers are actually listening to her as well. And she's a terrific advocate in federal parliament, and I can certainly learn a lot from her. I'm really looking forward to working with her. But it was great to see Murray Watt actually come and have a look at the situation here, because it is frightening. I mean, anyone that's not lived through floods of this scale before, it really is frightening, and it is going to take a mammoth flood recovery effort, both in terms of boots on the ground and dollars to aid that recovery. So it's good that he came and had a look.
When it comes to that flooding, I think you're involved in the almond industry around Robinvale yourself. Just how much are we talking about it? Is there estimates yet about just what the impact is on horticulture in the Murray Channels?
No, look, it's going to be different for everybody. I mean, for us, we're not going to be affected too much by floods in the orchards. It's more the infrastructure on the river that has been a real concern. It's a real concern for everybody involved in horticulture along the Murray River. We've all got pumps that pump that water out of the river and into our own water storages. So that has been a real issue, and I think it came on a lot quicker than we had expected. We thought we had, maybe a little bit more time to lift pumps up, and then we got them to one level, and the water kept coming, so we had to move them up again, and it's been a real struggle. Like every day it is having to tend to something, and then it drops and then it comes back up. So I don't think we're going to know. It's going to be different for everybody. I visited another vineyard last week that had actually been inundated by floodwaters, and they've lost about 85% of their table grape crop. And they were looking amazing too. There has been some concern with disease in the table grape industry, particularly around Robinvale, because it's been so humid and so wet. Being able to get into spray to control disease has been a real issue. So we won't actually know the full effect until, I suppose, just post-harvest, with the issues with quality, how much produce is actually there, and of course labour. It just seems to be one thing after another. But I'm well aware of it, being so close to the horticulture industry myself. I'm very aware of the challenges that we face this year. It'd just be really nice to have a golden year for everyone, wouldn't it, Ricky? It'd just be nice to have everything flow nice and smoothly for a change.
Yeah, life on the land, it always throws up challenges, but we can always hope and pray coming up to Christmas that maybe things turn out as well for the horticulturalists as they might have turned out. It seems for Mallee farmers a better year than usual, and there were concerns it was a bit wet, but they seem to be harvesting their backsides off at the moment.
Yeah, they do. I was actually over in Hopeton, Beulah and Birchip earlier this week on Monday. And I tell you what, even though there was a sprinkle of rain around, there was a lot of smiling faces, which was a relief, actually, to be honest. I know Oyen and through parts of the Mallee were wiped out with hail, so that's not great. But there are certainly parts of the Mallee that, were looking like bumper crops. And as you said, it looked like they wouldn't get the crops that that they thought they might, but it seems like even hay has finished now. Hay's been baled, and it looks pretty good. I mean, it's been the quality might not be as good as it perhaps was, but they've got it there. So, look, Mallee farmers are smiling at the moment in a lot of parts. There are a lot of challenges in other parts, obviously, with those hailstorms that went through earlier in the month with, in bands. So there are challenges, but there are a lot of smiling faces out in the Mallee, and it was great to see. And also, Ricky, while I was out there, I did notice while I was visiting different businesses, there are a lot of Flow FM coffee mugs sitting on desks around the place.
We're just trying to conquer the place one coffee mug at a time. Jade, speaking about the challenges faced by the Mildura electorate, there were big pledges made by the coalition, including for a significant hospital improvement if the coalition was elected to government. Those needs, I imagine, are going to need to be prosecuted in the parliament unless you can convince the Andrews Labor government to sort of match what the coalition was promising.
Well, and that's, he said he would govern for all Victorians. We're yet to see the master plan, but he has promised new hospitals in and around the city. So I would hope that he actually honours his word as well. And we did make a lot of commitments under a coalition government or under a Liberal Nationals government. We haven't got that government, so it is going to be a bit more of a challenge now. The key thing here will be creating relationships, good working relationships early on. But we certainly will be prosecuting the case that Daniel Andrews does need to govern for all Victorians. We are growing your food up here, so we also need our new hospital, and we need it sooner rather than later.
And just lastly, one of the other key things we talked about during the campaign was Murray Basin Rail. The roads have copped a hammering and trying to get that freight onto rail. I just don't get the impression from the questions we've asked Labor federally and at the state level that there's great interest in putting the money up to get this to become a reality.
No, I'm glad you have that impression too, because that's exactly the impression that I get as well. However, now with the roads, and again, travelling around over the last couple of weeks, the roads, even the ones that have been reconstructed or renewed, have just fallen to pieces. There needs to be some accountability as far as the roads go. But if we didn't have, I don't know if the state government's aware, but we're not actually using horse and cart up here now. We're using quite big trucks, and they're getting bigger. So the roads need to be able to cope with that. And one way that we can sort of help alleviate a little bit of the pressure on the roads is with rail freight, which is really important. It's going to become more important to get that freight to rail, particularly with the crops that we are producing up here in the Mallee at the moment. So, look, there hasn't been a huge appetite from the government to prosecute the Murray Basin Rail project. It was and still is a commitment from the Nationals that we have it finished in its original scope. We had committed during the election campaign $5 million to get in there and have a look at it and rescope it so that we could get the outcome that all Victorians deserve. So we certainly will be pushing for that as well.
Well, Jade Benham, great to have you with us and look forward to a term where we're talking about important issues in the northwest of the state. Thanks very much for joining us and have a fantastic Christmas.
Absolute pleasure, Ricky. You have a wonderful festive season too.